Warning, this audio contains spoilers concerning the Walking Dead TV show and the Walking Dead graphic novel. You've been warned.
Hey everybody, I'm Anthony, and this is the Dynamic Dead. Welcome to episode 2. Okay, my guests today are
Timmy,
Travis,
Jingles,
Curls,
and myself, Anthony. Alright, so last night's episode was titled Prey. It was season 3, episode 14. Not really what I was expecting from the next episode, leading off of a boring episode before. But we'll get to that eventually. So, what do you guys think of episode 14, Prey?
I was not into this episode. This was probably my least interesting episode so far out of the 3 seasons. I really did not enjoy that episode very much.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I agree with you. Like, it started out really slow. It was like that episode where nothing happened till the very end when Daryl came back and they saved the prison. But let's get to our key points tonight. So, the episode started out with Michonne having a flashback of, the winter that we never got to see. And it was just her and Andrea. What do you guys think of that, personally? Chad?
looking at that, I was kind of excited when it first started because I thought we were going to have an entire episode of just the winter from before. But when the episode actually started, I was kind of disappointed that they actually went into something. But as far as that goes with the walkers, I like how they left us kind of on a cliffhanger about who they were for the people who have only watched the TV show who don't actually know who the walkers are. I think that even if they don't come back to it, it was good for everybody to kind of get it off their chest to finally know, okay, this is the walkers were somebody she knew and they did something to hurt her.
Mm-hmm. Being somebody who hasn't read it, I feel like that wasn't as big of a thing with me. I wasn't too concerned. I had honestly forgotten about Michonne having those 2 walkers on chains. So, on that note, what Curls just said, I feel like as a person who has not read them, that it wasn't that big of a justification.
No, I think it wasn't just onto them, but it was onto her character in general. Like, I feel like because of them saying that the governor wanted, the prison group to give up Michonne and to kind of give a background story, so you felt more for her. Because at this point, she's still just a new person, and why should we care? They're giving you a reason to care.
And from the show, I feel like Michonne is not actually explained as well as she is in the books. At this point, in the kind of messed up timeline that we have with the books and the TV show, you know a lot more about Michonne at this point.
Because Michonne shows up really early.
Yeah, and in the show, she just kind of like appears. We get a little bit of information about her, and if you only watch the show, you would not really understand why people are kind of like struggling about giving her up.
Mm-hmm.
That's the exact point I was about to make. Like, it's more of a option now to keep her because it's getting the viewers to feel bad for her because it's really easy to give her up now in a lot of people's eyes, and this is just giving you a different look at it into what she's been through and what she had to go through with Andrea when no one really knew because it just fast forwarded like that. So
I feel like the last 2 episodes though before this have been doing enough build up for Michonne's character. Her helping Carl saying to Rick that she's one of us, Herschel saying she saved my life, she saved so-and-so's life. I feel like the last 2 episodes have been building up to a stronger character for Michonne, and they're not needing to be, this side story. Because once again, not reading any of the comics, I already had that emotional connection there towards Michonne due to those last 2 episodes.
Yeah, and I think as a watcher of much TV, I believe that I felt when I saw that it was almost like forced, like, hey, we're going to make her important because we're about to use her for something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what I felt when I saw that, and I would have probably thought that had I read the comics or not.
Yeah, it was kind of just thrown in there rather quickly, building this.
Yeah.
But you can also see it coming. I mean, this is whatever the time lapse is between when she first came to the prison after getting shot to where we're at in this last episode. She's been there for a while and can, it should be starting to show up as more of a dominant person in the group.
I just think that with the show as of late, they've done this with a couple of characters where they make them appear more important all of a sudden, and then they do something with them. Mm-hmm. Whereas in the book, you get a lot more story with why they're. It just seems random in the show, but in the books, it would make more sense. I guess is my.
Yeah, I kind of sorry to cut you before you cut to talk. I wish that they did that for a lot of characters. Like I know we're gonna use Michonne, we're gonna try to give our background story, but even with like T-Dog, they could have even if it was just like that, everyone got a clip of what happened before, because I know Carl got one, Lori got one, Rick had an entire episode. I wish I could see what Daryl did before he joined, because they even said that Daryl and Merle were going to rob the group. And I feel like, because when T-Dog, they were, talking about when it broke out, he took a church van and picked up all the elderly people and, got them out of the city or something like that. And I feel like that'd be cool if they did it for everybody. But, yeah, Michonne is...
I think this is also not just an outbreak for Michonne, but a breakout for Andrea as well, because this is the first time that we see how close her and Michonne were, and then when you bring back she starts talking to Milton when they're in Woodbury, which we'll get back to momentarily, she specifically says, and she's my best friend, talking about Michonne. And so that's the first time we really get the relationship between the two of them really coming out into the show.
Because what no one understands is, literally, Michonne came and saved her. Came in, killed those things, and then took her with you. And in the show, we've seen it. You don't just stop for anybody. And the fact that Michonne stopped and saved her against every viewer's wish, I don't know, that was pretty cool.
It was like I did actually today. I did a little survey thing online that said it was like, how long will you last in the zombie apocalypse? And tons of 24 questions. One of them was, if you come across a stranger being attacked by zombies, would you stop? I said no. I mean, and it jumped my days of survival by 20. Mm-hmm. So
I mean, clearly a couple episodes back that
was
runner, tested with the runner.
Yeah, the person running and Rick just drove past, and then picked up that guy's things at the end of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, since we've been talking about Andrea a little bit, what about the fact that she was fooled by the governor? I mean, I know last episode we were like, oh, no, she knew. She wasn't dumb. Well, joke's on us, she was dumb.
Imagine that.
Yeah. Shame on us. But no, how would she be so dumb? Why is she still believing that the governor isn't a sadistic freak? After she even heard that he, not messed around, but was going to mess up Maggie and, almost rape her when he kind of, I don't know what you would say that he did to her. He, humiliated her?
Sexually assaulted.
Sexually assaulted, yeah.
It was kind of like a mental rape.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I think also, too, that Andrea is the sort of person that wants to believe everything is going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
She wants to believe that things can change, just like when she waited and waited for her sister to turn. She wants things to be able to be different. She wants things to be civilized. And I think now, finally, after she realized, okay, she's gone through the extraneous details of, we did the meeting, we did all of this, he wants nothing more than to kill everybody, that she's like, okay, now I need to take action, where she tries to shoot him while he's standing there defenseless.
Mm-hmm.
And I think also, too, her change in opinion on the governor also follows the timeline of the change of Woodbury. Because, I mean, when we first get in Woodbury, I mean, it seems like a paradise, really. It's, kind of like a perfect little village. There's a guy that kind of oversees it, and everything kind of works out well. But now Woodbury is literally like a military camp, a prison almost. It's totally changed, and her opinion kind of changes as that timeline evolves, because Andrea's character, when she sees Daryl and Merle being pitted against each other, she does start to change there.
Yeah.
And you really start to see her views on the governor start to be questioned there. It's just kind of a slow arc from there. I mean, we've had a lot of episodes since then.
But off of what Curl said, isn't it funny how she's the one looking for like civilization when she was the one who was trying to kill herself for like 8 episodes and hated everyone because they wouldn't let her kill herself? I don't know.
But her history, though, she's a human rights lawyer. So, I mean, she does want to have everybody have their, kind of like their chance at survival and all this stuff. It's just, she's over, I guess, her sister's death at this point.
Yeah.
Also, with bringing up Andrea, too, I think that it's important to point out that although this group would love to see Andrea die very soon, I think Andrea has a very strong fan base, especially from, not trying to sound sexist, but from a lot of women, because she is literally the only woman character with a say. Because you have Carol, who, my personal point of view is, I wish she would have died when they were in the prison, but we'll go ahead and skip that. And then you have Maggie, who has yet to really evolve into a character who has a lot of say in what is going on. Yes, she does things, but I don't think she is the type of character that Andrea has been developed into.
Well, and then what about even Maggie's sister? Who is she?
I think she
her shot character, a gun.
She got shot a gun, but she's not useless. She didn't take care of the baby. I know that's a role thing, and I don't think that the show's trying to play on that. But everyone's kind of fallen to their place, and even Carol has that mother. Like, she is the den mother.
Right.
I mean, she's the one, she's the comforting person. Like, when she found Lori was dead, she's the one who went and hugged Rick, and, people started to heal once they found her. And I think she's the thing that's keeping Daryl from going crazy. And
when are they going to hook up?
Huh?
That's not going to happen.
It could happen.
This is The Walking Dead. If you read the book, the old and the young get together all the time. So,
just a little side note question. Sorry about that.
But continuing on with Andrea's character as a whole, with that, I believe that she will either be around for a very long period of time or will be killed off by the end of the season. I think it'll be one or the other, because she went from being, in season 2, the character who kind of didn't really do much, to all of a sudden shooting guns and getting training, and now she is a main character. And like I said last week, when characters start talking and characters start voicing their opinions, they die.
But on that note, I don't think that she will. However, she is in the torture chamber, and no one knows that she is there. Only the governor knows that she is there. So, that puts her in a very bad position, because he's a nut job.
Yeah. But, I don't know. We'll get to the torture chamber in a second.
Oops.
Anyone else got a point for this one? No? All right, well, as Timmy brought up with the torture chamber, the governor's little playroom, I think that's what they refer to it in during The Talking Dead. The hell is that? I mean,
there's some very interesting instruments out on that table.
Yes.
A funnel? I'm sorry, they're like, the funnel's used to keep people alive, and all I'm thinking is,
he's gonna butt chug her.
Party Kong. But no, I mean, and not like just saying that this happened. Like, he was sick. And for those of you who don't know about the book, Michonne was originally raped by the governor in a device that was pretty much just like what the governor first showed, which was 2 bars and chains. She was chained up between 2 metal bars, and that is what happened in the book. And so that's when I saw they set it up. I was like, oh my god, that's gonna play along with the book now. But it was just sick, because there was that point where he wraps himself in the chains and then he goes. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you?
I didn't understand what that was about. I really didn't.
When he did that, I thought to myself, we're going to have a governor episode very soon. And by a governor episode, what I mean is the flashback which we had with Michonne. I think we're going to have one of those with the governor to explain what exactly his deal was before the outbreak.
I think that would be a great decision on their part. I would love to know what happened with him.
I heard, like, he said that he was that he had a job where his boss was younger than he was and dumber than he was. But I almost want to think, what if it was like a Joker thing? You know how the Joker constantly changed his opinion and constantly changed his backstory? What if the governor has been lying about this whole thing and it was actually from the prison and he's some kind of sadistic killer?
Ooh.
And that's what, because I mean, I know they didn't really hint that much. Like at the beginning, I thought that's what he was going to be. He was originally an inmate and he wanted the prison back, but he doesn't care for the prison.
Yeah, and he didn't know the layout of the prison because he learned that from Tyrese.
Yeah.
Right, but then also who's the little girl then?
I mean, it could have been his daughter, and he could have been
Found her
locked
somewhere.
away.
I think it is definitely his daughter.
Yes.
I mean, I can just see him being a sick person. I mean, if you notice that he does this whistle that he's just now developed.
I think something else with that torture chamber is with him keeping all those zombie heads and everything. I couldn't even imagine what he could do to be doing to some zombies.
No, they actually did a book. Well, I know the book doesn't apply to the show, but in the book they did a governor issue, and it was like originally he hooked the tanks up, and he says he's going to put the faces of the dead and things that are out there now. He's going to sit in this chair and he's going to look at it until he can see the world and not fear it. Until that he looks at it and nothing about the world that's out there now, the new world that he sees, will scare him because he is going to accept everything about it. That I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah, and I think in the show, a lot of things like that do go unexplained, and they will never get explained because they've already moved past a lot of that stuff. So I think at some point they missed some things along the line that would have made stuff make more sense. Like, because I mean, with the heads in the show, you're just kind of like, why the heck does this guy have these things? And is he just crazy? Is it? I mean, there is more to the story than what we get from the show, I guess, is my complaint in some points.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no. All right. I don't know. I found it to be weird, and I don't want to, take points away from Talking Dead, because I did watch it after the show, and they showed a part when he has the needle and thread that you use for sewing up wounds. And they were even talking about, like, even with him having his daughter still, was how he wants to prolong things. He wants to keep some things longer than they are. Like, he kept his daughter, chained up, even though she wasn't there anyway. He still wanted to be a father to her. Mm-hmm. And with this Michonne thing, I mean, he's going to want his revenge. And he said, you can kill when he said that they were going to meet again, and he wanted people, like, around the shop or the warehouse, and then he'll kill everyone except for Michonne, because he wanted to take her, and then, I mean, obviously, now he can, like, cut her arm off, sew it back up. And he can cut off another hand, sew it up, and he can prolong this torture that he has. Because the last episode, we thought he was going to turn into he was going to, keep her as a zombie, and then take out frustration on, like a creepy medicine ball. But now it just seems like he is, I don't know, he has this issue of wanting to control everything and control time. And I don't know, that was the point that the Talking Dead had put up that I thought was really cool.
He loves power. He's power hungry, and everything he does, calling himself the governor, and now doing all this. But I guess the only thing with the torture chamber is he's got to be really careful that the people don't die out, because mm-hmm. they can bleed to death. They can do all that stuff. But I think that he's in trouble because Milton took care of that one old lady that was dying, and him and Milton are about to bump heads really big time. And so what's going to happen? How is he going to have all this knowledge about sewing them up, like what veins to not cut, or like where to and where to not to cut? So
I think that the governor, I don't think like you said, I don't think he thinks that far ahead. I think if you're going to say he kept his daughter with a bag over her head chained up in a closet as a walker and try to brush her hair and creepy stuff like that. I don't think he really cares as much. I think he doesn't care if she slowly gets infected and dies. I think he just wants to keep it. He wants to savor each second.
And I mean, the governor, I mean, a while before he was kind of like creepy and unstable. Now he's like totally,
psychotic.
Off the deep end. And I mean, he's going to be reckless at some point, I believe, in the future. And I think that's the final outcomes.
And I think that it's important to note that, at least for me, when characters receive power in the show, and probably even in the comics, they start to go nuts. Shane went nuts. Rick is completely batshit crazy.
Although I feel like he's sobering up in a sense.
No, he's accepting it.
Yeah.
And that's what's...
And then you look at the governor, and he is just continuing to spiral out of control.
Yeah, I feel like, I'm trying to think of how I'm going to put my point across. He just seemed to, like, he had it. He was all together, and he did creepy stuff, but not, like, I think in the beginning he did what was best to keep Woodbury alive. Like, even when he did that speech when he was like, hey, I remember when we were stuck in a restaurant, and we were there, and it was just the 70 of us, and here we are now with a functioning city or town. I think that was just a really cool moment, and then after he lost his eye and was attacked by Rick's group and Michonne, and in that moment when one of the city people the Woodburyans were bit by a walker, he just walked out and just shot him, and that was it. And he didn't think twice and just walked back inside. And I think that by losing his eye, he lost his foresight.
And I think it's very interesting, the two sides of the governor that there are. There's the sadistic, crazy side that we know, that we all see in the show, but then there's that calm, collected leader that all of the people in Woodbury think he is. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a very interesting thing to note.
I mean, it's like, never, I'm not gonna make that comparison, but it was just, I don't know. I want to know what the governor's planning to do with the pits, and like, because I mean, he sent Tyrese and Martinez, flannel shirt guy's son, and what's Tyrese's sister's name?
Sasha.
And Alan.
Alan is flannel shirt guy.
Yes.
Yeah, but
flannel shirt guy is a lot cooler to say.
Yeah. Plus, I don't give him enough respect to say his name. I think he's punk.
True.
But they went out to the pits, they call them, which is like that weird windmill thing, that circular windmill, and basically they go over there and they get walkers. Is what I assume they used to supply for the gladiators and for their zombie bomb, or a suicide zombie bomb car thing that they used when they attacked the prison. I mean, obviously they're gonna try to do something like that again, where they're gonna drive another truck into the prison and then release a bunch of walkers.
Right.
It seemed like to me that they needed that zombie bomb because the next day, which I'm not going to say is the next episode because I'm pretty sure the next episode is going to be Rick's side of what was happening during the governor's freak out. But I think that they were going to use that zombie bomb during the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as Michonne showed up, they were going to release that zombie bomb, and they were going to take her, and they were going to go.
At the meeting at the abandoned mill?
At the meeting, he said that they had snipers all around, and they were just going to shoot and kill everyone except for Michonne. They weren't going to release walkers. I think they were going to take out the prison with the walkers. Because he says that basically they're going to take out Rick and them, and then they're going to move and take out whoever's next. Whoever is left in the prison. I don't know. I don't think that would work twice. I think next time they see a truck coming, they're just...
Right.
You're gonna
but,
kill.
I mean, they don't really have the firepower to be able to take out a truck like that unless
they do now.
Yeah, they did load up.
Yeah, they loaded up, but, I mean, I feel like they didn't grab as much from Morgan as they could have. But that is true. They've been sorting out ammunition and guns on the table.
I think it'll be very obvious how much they took from Morgan in the next episode.
Mm-hmm.
Which I am hoping that, or actually, I know the show well enough now to know that the next week is going to be a setup episode for the finale. So
yeah,
right. It's going to be another setup, definitely.
Mm-hmm. What did you guys think about Tyrese being appointed to the pit crew? We'll call it, going out to the zombie pits. Like, why would the governor assign a group Like, you know, the Tyrese group, why would he assign them to go to a pit for such an important job? I don't know why he'd bring these newcomers. Maybe it's like an initiation to see if they're up to it, but why waste the time?
Well, first, what I want to talk about is Tyrese leading up to him being chosen to be that, because I thought it was probably one of the funniest parts of that episode is Tyrese's huge arms lifting up this sniper rifle and just missing, and it's like, oh, everybody else, Andrea can shoot him with a handgun, but you can't hit him with a scope, and then when Andrea comes up onto the walkway and is like, whips out a knife, I'm leaving, and it's like,
Yeah.
Andrea, he is like 400 pounds on you, and it made me think of Spider-Man when he's like, oh my god, small knives!
My number one weakness, small knives. Yeah.
It's like he's got a 50 cal in his hand, and he could just be like, huh, poof.
I think they're attempting to create kind of like a gentle side with Tyrese because I mean he does mention when the pits situation is going down, he does mention, well, there's women and children at the prison. You can't do this, that kind of a thing. So I think they're trying to create kind of a soft side to Tyrese. So I think they'll explore that more because I believe this episode is kind of like, okay, Tyrese is going to be important in a few episodes, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I think they're trying to relate him to the group instead of from Woodbury. They're separating it.
Yeah.
That's why he was proving his worth. The governor was making him prove his worth by trying to initiate him and see if he can hang with Martinez.
Yeah.
And now that he's doing that, it just shows me that he belongs with the group. He belongs next to Rick, and Glenn, be his right and left hand man.
Yeah.
Would be awesome.
I think it's cool how that entire scene where you see him being this soft guy, but then at the pits, and we'll explain a little bit later, Tyrese gets attacked by flannel shirt guy Ryan and Alan, sorry, and he snaps. Like there's a point where he kind of just takes him and just holds him over the pit with zombies in it, and he even says like, "I just saw red."
I love the part of that fight where he starts like he Alan attacks him or whatnot, and we just talked about how big Tyrese is he could have, and he basically did, he almost flipped him up straight up over his chest like a pile driver. I mean, he could have easily just picked him up over his head and threw him into the pit. And right back to the soft side of it, he doesn't have it, he's not going to attack the living. Tyrese does not have the abilities to attack the living. He's not. He has no problem with attacking the dead or anything like that, but he's not going to kill somebody who is living.
I think that scene was kind of a little tidbit for the people that had read the comics, though, because it does show Tyrese's kind of personality, like his two sides of his personality. That is more evident in the books. I mean, I'm sure they're going to probably explore that in the future of these episodes if they keep Tyrese around. But so far, we just haven't learned a lot about Tyrese in the show yet.
Yeah.
I think, to me, Tyrese's character develops only at the point of Sasha and Alan being taken out of the picture. I think until they are both removed from the show, then Tyrese will be able to evolve as a character, because at that point, I believe, and that's just my belief, that will be the point that he is gone from Woodbury.
Mm-hmm.
But also going back to when you said he saw red, I think that's a very common thing now, because if you remember Morgan saying, when he killed his wife,
yeah,
all I saw was red. I could not see anything but red. And Tyrese said when he was defending himself against Alan, he said, I saw red. I apologize. It'll never happen again.
Mm-hmm.
And it shows that these guys, they have their gentle side, but as soon as they get angry, they snap.
Yeah. I just to clear up for everyone who doesn't really understand this, Alan attacked Tyrese because he's been having a little man issue. I guess before we see Tyrese and this group get saved, Alan's wife was attacked by a walker, and Tyrese
bit.
And bit. Well, it wasn't bit yet. This is when Was it? When
This
she
was before.
This was way before.
All
right,
of
but
that.
to let people know who she was.
Yeah,
if
yeah.
they
She
didn't
was
know.
bitten and then killed. But apparently Tyrese is the one who saved her. Tyrese just happened to be there. He came along and saved her, and I guess either she was really grateful or by saving her she kind of fell for Tyrese. But he mentions that then she was stuck to him, and then that's how their groups became one. Was because of the wife following Tyrese, and I guess the husband Alan took this to, I don't know, as Tyrese trying to belittle him. And I don't know. And then Tyrese was like, no, we're fine. Until there was that one moment where he pissed him off, and then Tyrese was like, or something like you did your wife, or like I did your wife, or your wife believed in me. Right. And it was just a big boom moment.
Well, I mean, I think, Travis being the only one married in this group right here, if some other guy came in and saved your wife in a situation like this, would you, and then kind of lorded it over top of you, would you resent this person, or would you accept the fact that he saved your wife and you get to live another day with your wife?
I mean, I feel like it would be, obviously a strange situation that you don't know until you're there, but I mean, it's I feel like you would feel out of place. You would feel like you weren't able to protect, the person you're supposed to be helping protect, in your life. I just think that it would be a very awkward and strange situation that I could see resentment building,
Yeah.
I think also going back to the development of Tyrese, while they are waiting for the governor, and the governor is talking to Tyrese and Andrea about, or not Tyrese and Sasha about Andrea, he says, "You talked to her? And what did she say?" And he says, "Nothing." When obviously Andrea told him that exact thing, that the governor is batshit crazy. He's gonna do some crazy things, and if they're smart, they'll get out of Woodbury.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, she didn't say anything. So I think that shows that he is kind of, he's not easily fooled by the governor.
No.
Right.
No. Tyrese is obviously realizing, but I mean, he's not the only person in Woodbury who's noticing the governor has snapped. Milton's gone. I don't know. Milton went from that, the nerdy little sidekick to being...
He went from a doormat to actually having some spine now.
He did, and he even kind of justified why. Like, there was a point where Milton shows Andrea the torture room. He kind of walks her into this, it's like a second floor, and he can look down into the room.
Yeah, what is that? Do you think that's a sadistic, weird view?
No, I believe that it's something similar to in a hospital where people would go that are in training to be a doctor,
right?
Or surgeon,
to watch a surgeon,
to watch over. I believe that it's something similar to that, because that would be the obvious thing that they're trying to emulate here.
Right.
My thing is, did Milton really grow balls? Or is he still the same person that he was? Because when Milton does all this stuff, he shows Andrea blah, blah, blah. But then as soon as he's confronted by the governor, he's like, yeah, I told her, blah, blah, blah. I told her. And then the governor's off. And then
I think Milton is a character they introduced. They gave him kind of a powerless role, and he is going to be a very important factor in the next 2 episodes, because they've been building him. He's now kind of like, everybody's like, wow, what'd this guy do? He went out to the pits and did his whole thing out there, and I truthfully think that he's going to be the deciding factor that probably is ending this season.
As I said last week, watch for Milton to take out the governor.
And not only is he going to take out the governor, hopefully, he's finally going to save Andrea. Unfortunately, I guess. But
him and Andrea are going to get the dirty going.
Because he's the only one who knows about it. It's her only chance.
Yeah, that is true. I feel like he's going to stumble across, because, back to also the viewing window, if you noticed, it had bars. It almost looked like they were in a ventilation like it was an
Yeah.
air duct that they were looking through,
Yeah.
because the governor didn't, quote unquote, didn't know that they were there. So I do feel like that Milton will be the one, if she is saved, Milton be the one that saves her.
Along with that point, do you think, and sorry to interrupt you, but do you think that the governor knows that Milton can see his little torture room? Because I feel like he doesn't. I feel like he doesn't have a clue that Milton knows it's there.
True.
Knows that the torture room's there.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
he
I mean,
does.
he knows
He's-
that. But do you think that he
knows
that he has that little viewing room in there?
that second floor
Yeah, I do. I guarantee that the governor knows every inch
of
of
Woodbury,
Woodbury.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Whether or not he knows they're up there,
So-
that could be up to debate.
What is the purpose of that?
Yeah. So do you think that then Milton can then is going? Do you think that Milton will be the one that goes to the prison on his own, tells Rick, "Hey, they're gonna kill Andrea if you don't come now," and that's when they start to come.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean that definitely could be an option here. I just think that they're going to explore Milton on his own. I really do think that that's what's going to happen, because of the fact that in the episode when they're up there in the viewing chamber, when Andrea is getting ready to kind of take a shot at the governor, Milton stops her. So Milton's going to feel guilty for the fact at some point when he discovers that Andrea's there, in my opinion, that he's going to feel guilty that he stopped her and put her in that position, and I think he's going to take it upon himself to go after the governor.
I heard, well, there's two things that I thought, and one was the fact that he said that he knew the governor before all this happened, which I guess that conflicts with my idea of that unless they were both in the prison. That actually was my second point. He says that he knew the governor before, and so
He said he was a good guy.
yeah.
So who do you think? How do you think they knew each other?
Well, here's my thought, because I heard this on The Talking Dead again, and they said, well, to make Milton a creepy character, what if he was the guy in the shadows? What if he was basically playing the governor, and that, I mean, what if all this was playing out and Milton was just kind of like, what if Milton was really the guy behind it all, and all we saw were the moments that
Milton wants to be he wants to be the leader.
Yeah.
And
because he says, well, Martinez would do this, and we need to keep the governor. So you think that you need him, and then once the governor's gone, he says, oh, I'm the one you need. And they could have made each other in the prison.
I think I've seen somewhere that said Milton, before the apocalypse, was a doctor of some sort.
I feel like he knew too little.
Yeah.
I feel like based off of how awkward and kind of antisocial Milton is, no offense to anybody who is in this occupation, I feel like he's some sort of like IRS or like accounting person where he is like that nerdy, just like does people's dirty work a little bit and is okay with it. You know, if that makes sense of what I'm trying to get across.
What if Milton was actually the governor's boss?
Ooh.
That I thought when they said that in The Talking Dead last night.
Oh,
I
didn't see that.
Well, what they didn't say that, but they said that, like what Anthony said, take it and flip it around, and that Milton is the leader. And I just like that, I thought, what if he is just telling the governor what to do, and
well,
they're making it look
I was
like
referring
that?
to before the apocalypse. Think if he was the boss that was in charge of the governor that had no clue what he was doing, type thing.
I guess what it boils down to is if Milton and the governor knew each other before the apocalypse, or
Which they
They
claim
did.
they did.
after. So
They
they
claim they
did.
did.
Yes.
So then that is a great possibility. I think that's completely accurate.
And I know he's a nutcase, but I kind of almost like, I know it sounds weird, but I kind of feel bad because aside from the fact that, they were doing all this terrible stuff to the people outside and Rick's group, they were doing things to keep themselves alive.
Mm-hmm.
What makes them so different than what Rick was doing?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
Rick went to Herschel's house and took over. I mean, let's be honest. They didn't just come. They said, "We're not leaving. You can't kick us out." And then because of them, they lost the farm.
And you kind of see this we know what Rick and all of them have done to get to the point to where they're at.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have the background knowledge of what the Woodsbury Woodsburian.
Yeah, we'll call them Woodsburian.
The only thing we know about the Woodbury people is that they spent 9 days in an apartment complex eating saltine crackers together.
Right.
Because that's something that the governor talks about in the second episode.
Yeah, he mentions a couple things here and there, but we don't have a full on.
Right.
Here's what happened.
We don't know how they got all the tractor tires that built the wall. They got the tin paneling that built the wall. You know, we don't know anything about where they came from or their background on fighting off hordes of zombies. So we have this very, how would I put it, the opposite of barbaric view of the Woodsbury people, because we don't know, and because they freak out when the walkers get in that back hole of the complex.
And I mean, other than the governor and his crew of people, you don't really know any of the Woodburyans either.
Right.
No, but you gotta think of it this way: the Woodbury has to be brand new. Because the zombie apocalypse has only been going on for a year now. Because they just hit winter, so it maybe has been a year, less than a year. Because this is the first time they've hit winter. So
no, didn't Rick sleep through winter?
Rick slept through a
6
month period. I think was
right.
It was 3 to 6 month period between when Rick went into a coma and woke up, and
it was summer. When
3
he got
months.
Shot.
It was 3 months after the apocalypse had started.
Well, and in the books, when they're at Herschel's, it's winter. So was it winter in the show when they were at Herschel's?
No, in the show it's still summer.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know, but like in the show, just the show, you just see the flower. I mean, after 3 months, you think the flower would be in worse, or that flowers that they left from would be in worse condition. There was a flower sitting there, and it just kind of welted up. It wasn't like, it wasn't like it would have been if it had been dry for 3 to 6 months. When I did some research and I looked, and people were thinking it may have been 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
That he was in a coma.
Because there's only so long you could be alive. Because the hospital had no power. Well, it was on reserve power, but there's nothing that would have kept him alive.
But I feel like also in 3 weeks, sure, at a hospital there'd be a lot of people dying, and especially knowing now that the virus was in everybody, even if they weren't bitten or anything like that, I can understand why a hospital would be overrun so quickly. But in 3 weeks, having complete military camps overrun and deserted, I don't think can happen in 3 weeks.
Well, see, the reason I think that happened was because no one knew that you were that everyone was infected. Because I was trying to figure out, like, how are we saying that we have military, like, we have tanks and everything, and all of a sudden they're overrun by zombies? It's because we didn't know that, my friend got shot, well, he's going to die, so I'm going to hold on to him. And then he's going to turn to a zombie and then bite me. And that's how you overrun, because no one knows.
Right.
And I don't know. I just don't think he was in there that long. But, wow, we got kind of drifted
way off topic.
We really drifted on that one. But that was a really good point.
I think we're talking about Milton.
Yeah, we're talking about Milton's character.
Yep.
But
I'm a fan.
What?
Say that.
I'm a fan of Milton.
I'm sure it has been said, but refresh mine. What is Milton's character, since I've not read the books, what is his character in the books?
It would have...
So he's non-existent?
No, but...
Is Milton an actual character, or does he have a different name?
There was like a henchman kind of character, but there was no Milton.
Was his name...
I'm sorry, I just, not knowing much about the books like you do, the comics. Books is the right word.
Graphic novel.
Yeah, graphic novels.
Yeah.
I want to know some of these other things that I might be missing. So, I know this was kind of a huge speed bump in the road asking this somewhat of a question. But it helps me out because now I know that I'm on the same page as all of you guys with Milton's character. Mm-hmm. This is the one time that I've gotten to be on the same page, not having any, background knowledge of Milton.
Yeah. And with Milton, too, this wouldn't be the first time that The Walking Dead has made more out of a character than was in the comic. Yeah. Because T-Dog in the comics is dead after, 2 books, right?
Yeah, and Daryl. I mean, there really is no Daryl. But, that was just my point. But honestly, Milton's character, I think, was basically just for the show because we're at that point now where it's at a good point where it's similar to the book, but it's different because
Yeah, and I just did a little research. He's actually not in the comics. That is correct, what we said earlier.
okay.
Okay.
But I like the fact that Milton is that they add Milton to the story because, like we've argued before, it's nice to know that the show is different enough from the books that you can still watch the show and be like, wow, didn't see that coming.
Well, and I like the development of his character. Even though Curls has said numerous times in these talks that once you start to develop a character and they start talking and they start doing more, they most likely are going to die. I feel like he's not going to be... They're going to develop his character a lot more before they kill him off. And actually, as I'm saying this, I don't know. It's kind of a toss-up, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it could be similar to The Prisoner that they developed up a few episodes back where you kind of like find out his story and then next thing you know, boom.
As soon as you start to like Axel, they shoot him in the face.
I also feel like that Milton is so much like Herschel
Yes.
that there cannot be two.
True.
It's almost like a Highlander thing. There can only be one. And that's why I also think that Merle will not be around for as long because there can't be a Daryl and a Merle and a Martinez.
But
sorry.
And on that note, I feel like Martinez is going to be gone because you can have a Hawkeye and a Black Widow. You know, you have two assassins in this group. You know, but I feel like having the two and they work together because they're brothers.
But that was Michonne. That's gonna be Michonne and Daryl. What's gonna happen
there you have your Hawkeye and Black Widow. Honestly,
well, that's basically. I think that Merle is going to have a redemption because no one likes him. Everyone thinks he's low as dirt, but he keeps talking about how he would do anything for his brother. So I feel like push is gonna shove, and something's gonna happen, and. You know,
Merle's going to take one.
Merle's gonna sacrifice himself.
I could definitely see that because that would be a total, change for that character. So I could really see, change in view of all the people that are in the prison, and Merle's character. So
yeah, and I mean, and they make that point. I feel like, in the next the preview for the next episode where I can't remember the exact words. But he's talking to Carol about leaving. Am I correct? I could be completely wrong, but Merle was in the preview for the next episode, correct?
Yes.
So I feel like they're through that preview they're gearing up for that redemption moment for Merle.
I feel with The Walking Dead that there is like a jettison of characters at the end of seasons, so we could see a few different people. Disappeared. It could come out of left field.
And the thing we have to remember, too, with this season finale is that it will be much different than what the middle of the season finale was. And they will have to end something. Something has to end at the end of the season, or people are going to start getting upset.
Right. Mm-hmm. There's too much going on right now for something for it to all keep going.
Yeah, because they really struggle, at least in the show, with clear breaks in the. A lot of shows it's kind of like story starts beginning of the season, story ends by the end of the season, and sometimes shows have a story that begins in one season and kind of stretches and ends in the second season. But they've kind of had kind of dragging on through some of these seasons here where there's loose ends and things like that they try to tie up. Right. So, it could be, it could be a piece that we could see something end here.
Yeah.
Or even it becomes, yes, they end something or they set it up to where we know that it will end. Like, they just leave it as a complete cliffhanger at the finale. And we know that it's going to be resolved within the first couple episodes of the next season.
Yeah, and just on that note, because I know people were getting angry because they released the first 5 episodes, the title and a short synopsis, a quick idea of what the episode's about. I was looking on Wikipedia and they showed the first. I know that can be edited by anyone, but I've also seen a couple of episodes where they said, "Oh, this is the next couple episodes, next season of The Walking Dead, season 4, episode 1, 2, and 3," and then a couple of days later. It was wiped from every website, which has been happening recently where shows are starting to put out more information they're supposed to.
I don't like that. I want it to be.
Yeah, I didn't even
If
look
it
because
is
I don't
a
want to know what's going to
cliffhanger,
happen.
if it is a cliffhanger, I want it to be a cliffhanger, and I have to wait. That given 2 months before the new season, or even longer, because that's gonna make me want to watch it even more. If I know or have the capabilities of letting my imagination go, then it's just gonna be a letdown if it does not become what I thought it was gonna be.
One thing I wish with The Walking Dead is that I wish they would kill the breaks in the seasons. Like I feel like that kills the show. Like I really hate that. Because I just feel like I feel like I had to go back and watch 3 episodes before the end of the mid-season break again just to catch up because it's been 3 months and I don't remember what happened. Or it wasn't 3 months.
I like it because it gives an excuse to do it all year round. Because
That's true.
before when I watched season 1, I had to wait all the way to next year for the next one to come out.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't mind because I know a lot of shows are starting to do a mid-season finale. Yeah. I like the idea of going full year and then giving them a break to film more episodes, full year again.
But even a lot of shows just do like a 2-week break. And then they do repeats for those 2 weeks. So you get 2 episodes of a repeat, and then they've got a whole nother section. Oh. I know that shows on CBS and ABC. The main show that I'm thinking of right now is NCIS. They do that a lot, where they have a mid-season break, but it's only a 2-week break before they go into the new stuff.
How does that show still have stuff to talk about? The show's 13 years old.
It's awesome.
Because it's like Law & Order SVU. You just go through whatever, man.
But The Walking Dead, the reason it takes so long is because other shows you can say, oh, well, you did something wrong, we're going to refilm. With this show, you have to re-put together a zombie. You have to re-put together a skeleton. You have to, there's so much you have to do to redo a scene. They were even talking about where we're going to talk about the chase scene in a warehouse between Andrea and the governor, is it was 2 nights they had to film. It wasn't just all done in one night because they do one scene, have to stop, get another scene, do all the makeup for the zombies, which I guarantee each one is going to take
hours. With how good the graphics are on these zombies, yeah, that makeup takes quite a while.
Mm-hmm. But since we just talked about it, being in the warehouse after Andrea leaves Woodbury and kind of just sneaks off, and then the governor finds out through, Tyre.